Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Well, it's the beginning of another week. Good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live from Mani Yusabata Desa Wakanda. Also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Okanse. Coming up tonight, the military brutalizes some media general's Northeast correspondent, Solomon Kanawule, detaining him for hours and formatting his mobile phone, an issue that raises serious concerns about matters of press freedom. We have a conversation tonight as we count down to the new Patriotic Party's presidential primary slated for Saturday, January 31. The big question remains, who leads the party into the 2028 general election? We have a conversation tonight. Also, the minority in Parliament takes on the Chief Justice, His Lordship Justice Paul Bafo-Boni, for meeting key institutional heads, describing it as a thank you tour. Well, we have a reaction from the majority in Parliament as well on this matter. We have this and more here on Ghana Tonight. It's always an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Connect with us. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces stationed in Waliwale in the Northeast region have severely beaten Media General's Northeast Regional Correspondent Solomon Kwame Kanawule while he was filming a military operation. The soldiers reportedly seized his phone and subjected him to severe beatings, with two of them allegedly using sticks and whips on his back. Despite identifying himself as a journalist, the assault continued, with the soldiers accusing him of parking his motorbike in an unauthorized area. He was detained for hours before release. The Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni has emphasized the need to protect judicial staff from attacks and ensure security for court premises and judicial offices. During a visit to the Ghana Police Service in Accra, the Chief Justice discussed ways to enhance collaboration between the judiciary and the police. The minority has questioned the purpose and timing of the ongoing engagements by Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Boni to key state institutions, describing it a thank you tour for his appointment. They have asked the president to resist the temptation to run a third term while vowing to block speedy passage of bills in the upcoming sitting of Parliament.
Mr. President, we are aware that many of your party members want to put the agenda. Please tell them one more time. Maybe when you said so in Singapore, they didn't hear you. Mr. President, you haven't spoken about your non-interest in third term in Ghana. Please tell your people that you are not interested at all. They shouldn't lead you into temptation. And by the way, it is not possible.
President John Mahama has appealed to Jamaica's Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness for support ahead of a planned United Nations resolution on March 25, seeking to have the transatlantic slave trade declared the greatest crime against humanity. Conveying the message on the President's behalf, Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa said Ghana is relying on Jamaica's backing to advance the cause of justice and global accountability for the atrocities of slavery.
President Mahama wants us to also seek your support. He will be filing a resolution at the UN on the 25th of March to have the UN declare the transatlantic slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity. We all must commit to that cause. Others received reparations. The Jews were, compensated after the Holocaust. The slave owners were compensated for losing the slaves when slavery was abolished.
The Bank of Ghana says while microeconomic conditions have improved, monetary policy decisions going forward will require caution and careful judgment. Opening the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting of 2026, Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama stressed that the priority now is to lock in stability and ensure recent gains are sustainable.
The meeting is about how we respond to that improvement and how we ensure that decisions taken today, the decisions we take, remain robust under scrutiny tomorrow.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com, also on 3News on YouTube. As always, proudly brought to you by Flamingo Paint, Simply Superior, Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Tum Preco coming up next on Ghana Tonight. When the uniform turns on the press tonight, there's been real concerns and consistent issues that we've seen over the period when pressmen are brutalized by men in uniform. Tonight, our very own Solomon Kanawole is a victim of yet another military brutality. We hear from him exactly what happened, and then also a security analyst on what the way forward should be. You've heard the president, John Dramani Mahama, talk about some sort of orientation for persons in uniform about the work of the media. Well, earlier today, personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces stationed in Wale Wale in the Northeast region have severely beaten Media General's Northeast Regional Correspondent Solomon Kwame Kanawole. The soldiers reportedly seized his phone and subjected him to severe beatings, with two of them allegedly using sticks and whips on his back. Despite identifying himself as a journalist, the assault continued, with the soldiers accusing him of parking his motorbike in an unauthorized area. He was detained for hours before the release earlier this evening. Now, Solomon Kanawole is our Northeast Regional Correspondent. He's joining us on the telephone to take us through exactly what happened. Solomon, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight.
Hello, good evening.
I've just given some point of reference of exactly what you had to go through, unfortunately, earlier today. But just walk us through exactly what happened, how it all started to the point of your release.
All right, so thank you so much. This afternoon, around 2 to 3, I was in the house after I went to a community to interview somebody I was working a story with. So initially, I have a luggage I was expecting from Tamale. So I asked one of the station boys in Wale Wale to receive it on my behalf because I'll be going to a village. I feel I will not come early. So fortunately, I came earlier than expected. So I was in the house when the station boy called me. So I quickly rushed to the station thinking that I'm going for my goose. So on reaching there, he told me that there were some military men who came around and they were brutalizing people, but they have left. I said, oh, but did they explain why? He said no. And I said, okay, me too, I wasn't around. So he told me my goods have arrived. So there was a store nearby, and I didn't go there with tire to carry the load to the house. So I drove to the store. I was in a motor, so I rode the motor closer to the shop, parked to enter the shop and buy what I want. In about 3 steps away from the motor, then the military arrived, about 4 of them. So they shouted, whose motor is this? Whose motor is this? So I came back and I said, before I could open my mouth to say, oh, that is my motor, then they gave me the first cane. The one closer to me gave me the cane. So he saw the t-shirt I was wearing is Omia TV. So he was about to give me the second one, but paused because he saw the Omia TV. Then the one behind him. So after he saw that I was wearing Omia TV t-shirt, he asked me, who are you? So I told him, oh, I'm the TV3 media general correspondent in the region. So before I could end the sentence, the one from behind also rushed in and gave me the second spoon. So the one who was earlier interacting with me told him that in P or stay or a media general reporter. So he said, and so what? So there he gave me the second, the third and fourth stroke with a wire. The first one used a stick, and then the second one he used wire. So they gave it to me there, and then I pushed my motor from where it's not as if I park where they are at a place that has been restricted. I park it far away from the road. So I moved the motor again. There I called the MCE and asked him if he's aware of any military operation, and then he said no. So he asked me where I was. I told him. So he said I should wait, he's coming. So he came there, he even took the phone, and then I showed my back to him, and then he took the pictures. So later I was riding the motor to the house. I couldn't take the load. I was riding the motor to the house. Then 2 of them blocked me on the way. So they marched me to where they were camped, out of the town. So they surrounded me there. As soon as I got there, the men there rushed to me. And one of them said, no, hold on. Do you know why he's here? And they all paused. So he shouted, where's your phone? Bring it. I gave him my phone. He said, why? Show me the password. I showed him. He opened the phone. He asked, did you take pictures or videos of us? I said no. He asked, did you take pictures or videos of us? I said no. So he said, okay. He's going through that. If he should see anything relating to them, they will deal with me there. So he went through and saw that I took pictures of my back and already sent it. Because when it happened, I sent it to Media General, my bosses, to have a look at what is happening. I reported it to them. So after reading my chat, he went through my chats with my boss, went to Media General, our WhatsApp platform. He has used my phone for more than 2 hours. So later, he made a call, and he called me that I should come for the phone. I went, he gave me the phone to talk to somebody. The person introduced himself to me as their commander. He asked me to narrate what happened. I told him, and he said no. Then the guys didn't do well. So he is apologizing on their behalf, so they will release me to go. I said, okay. I thanked him, and he said they would take my number and get in touch with me later. I said, okay. So later, when we ended the call, I was waiting, thinking he would give me my phone to go. He operated my phone till it went off. He requested for a power bank from one of his men. They brought it to him. He charged the phone, went through my private charge. He went through almost everything in my phone. And later, he left my presence, went somewhere far away from where I was. But the men were still around me. So I waited there for about 3 hours. Then he came back and handed over my phone to me. When I took the phone, it was off. I turned it on and realized that he has factory reset the phone. He cleared off everything on my phone. So I asked, oh, you cleared off my phone, whatever that is my phone? He said, yes. I said, oh, why? He said, what should I do if you want to destroy my job? So he told me I should call my bosses. So I took the phone and left.
I see. And this person, you say, who spoke to you on the phone while you were with them, he apologized to you for what exactly?
Yes, he said he, on his behalf of his men, will apologize for the men assaulting me in that manner.
And he identified himself as who?
He identified himself as their commander, but he told me that the Northeast Regional Minister called him to report what happened to me.
I see. But that question about, you asked the MC about whether or not there was an operation in the area. Did you get any response to that effect?
Yes, the MC said they are not aware of any operation. I called the district police commander as well. He said they are not aware of any operation. I called the regional minister also, who says that they are not aware of any operation going on there.
I see. But stay with me, because I have Richard Kumado, security analyst as well. But let's also establish this. So, Solomon, you were in the branded Media General T-shirt.
I was wearing a T-shirt, and they saw it and were even mentioning Onia TV, Onia TV, Onia TV.
Okay. Now, Mr. Kumado, thank you for joining us. I mean, you've listened to the ordeal that Solomon had to endure right from the beginning to the point where he was released. Now, this is not the first time we're seeing something of a sort. What exactly is your reading of this continuous happenings of this nature? What really leads to this, that every time we condemn it, but then again, you have some elements within the security agencies taking the law into their own hands?
I think, let me condemn it again. It's condemnable, it's unnecessary, and I think these are our brothers in uniform who took the law into their own hands this evening. In this modern day and age, some of these conducts may land them in some level of difficulty. Number two, it is my prayer and hope that the CDS and the commander he referred to have watched the video or have access to the person information. And I believe the overall output of our military, and I don't think they will tolerate some of these issues that may put the name of the military into jeopardy. There have to be investigation and appropriate actions will have to be taken. And I want to trust the CDS and I trust all the other related authorities in this matter. But then what is also important is that if you are not a non-journalist like Kanse or many of our people who have been on the front lines, there's also the need for proper education, and there's a need for proper introduction when you find yourself within military operations. One of the things military officers are always apprehended about is what we call operational security. And they wouldn't want journalists who they don't know or anybody at all who work within that premises to be able to begin to take pictures and record whatever they do. Then the third point is we are mostly reactive and not responsive. And so we are impatient with one another, and communication sometimes, and in most times, in many of these circumstances, become a problem. And you can see from the ordeal and the narration from Solomon that communication was a problem right from day one. And if they had listened to themselves a little bit, then you would have realized that Solomon would have introduced himself properly to them with not just wearing of a t-shirt, but with a proper identification where references can be taken by the soldiers. And that is what we need to educate ourselves to establish that relationship between law enforcement officers and the general public, particularly media people. Until we are able to do that successfully, we'll continue to have some of these difficulties.
Well, but you recall when the incident involving one of our colleagues sometime last year happened, along the Spintex Road when there was a demolition, and he was there to cover it, a similar assault situation. Then the recent one involving the fire service. We've seen the police at some point as well be at the end of perpetuating such behavior. So the president talks about some orientation so that the servicemen would understand the work of the media, and then we also understand their work, and there's going to be that kind of synergy and also complementing each other. We don't know if that has happened, but how crucial is that particular proposal that the president talked about?
It's very perfect. It was timely. I also want to believe that many of those orientation sessions would have taken place. It should not just be in the front cameras, but then some discussions would have taken place. Normally, Nenen, because you are a senior journalist and you have relations across board, you are likely not to suffer many of these things. And so for new guys coming up, the tendency is that you find yourself at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you are likely to come under such authentication and confrontations, and it may lead to what we are talking about. Broadly, let's encourage our journalists to introduce themselves properly. Let's encourage them to know the relationship between a police operation and military operation. The BNI do not have some of these difficulties because our main cover has always been within the journalism industry. And so we blend so well with them. But our lack of understanding of what it takes also may create problems. So we are back to square one, where public education has become crucial, awareness creation is crucial, and orientation of our men in uniform has become more important. But above all, I want to believe that the CDS, together with the regional commanders, have seen what has happened, and I want to trust them that they will take it more seriously and provide the public education we are talking about. Once the media or the general public can understand that this is a law enforcement operation, or we can understand ourselves a bit more and be patient with one another, we will avoid some of these authentications and some of these situations that create some level of discomfort for civilians, for that matter.
There's a trend as well that could be observed. So as you make that appeal to the hierarchy of the military, and this cuts across the entire security agency, you see the hierarchy of, that's the trend, beg your pardon, of this incident, not this one as a case in isolation. How should that trend analysis inform the response mechanism that you're talking about?
One of the things we need to do is the media houses, the owners of the media houses engaging law enforcement officers. The GJA does it, but normally does it through the press releases. And when you visit them and there's no concrete effort in making sure that as part of the yearly orientations or media orientations, media relations and personnel and civilian relations become a major topic on the training manuals, it wouldn't work. What we also need to do, just like what the president said, the president created a platform and gave an indication of what needed to be done. The media houses, we will need to push it together. And once we push it together, I wouldn't be surprised the military, the police in particular, they will create a platform for media officers to come and train their officers. And that relationship is what is going to build it up. But the overall idea is that we will need to be patient with one another. We will need to tolerate one another more. And we will need to know what is all this about security, operational security, that law enforcement officers will work so hard to protect. And they wouldn't want anybody without that space. And then it is so crucial that within those operational environments, the question they ask is, who is in charge? Is it a law enforcement officer or the journalist? Or are they in charge together? When they are in charge together, then they see themselves as a team and they work together for the same objective and purpose. Once they do not see themselves as the same team, and our brothers and sisters from within the media do not also introduce themselves properly with a reference point, we are going to have some of these issues. But I am saying that the platform you provided to me this evening, let me say to my big uncle, the CDS and everybody, and the IGP and the Director BNI and everybody, that let's create that platform where we are going to engage our media people properly And let our media officers also understand that when they call for some of those engagements, we must make appearance. That is the only way we'll foster one strong, formidable unit that we are working in the interest of the state. Other than that, we'll continue to have some of these authentications that may create some high levels of discomfort.
Mr. Kumar, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And he's a security analyst, Richard Kumado, there. But Solomon, before I let you go, how are you doing now? I mean, have you received some medical attention after all of this?
Yes, I just returned from the hospital some about an hour ago. So they gave me some medication, which I am currently taking. So for now, I am okay. Though I still feel the pain at my back, and when I shake my head, I feel headache.
And I wish you a speedy recovery on this, Solomon. Solomon Kanawole is our Northeast regional correspondent there. And Media Journal's position on this matter is quite clear, that we strongly condemn this brutal assault on our Northeast regional correspondent in Wale Wale. We call on the military high command to investigate the assault and punish perpetrators. And also in the coming days, there's going to be a petition to the Defense Ministry to address the increasing military brutalities against innocent citizens. So that's the clear position on this, and that is what you also find as well, as we put out earlier when this matter happened on 3news.com. But this is Ghana Tonight. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279. Away from matters of security into politics. We're just some 5 days away from the NPP going to the polls. Who leads the New Patriotic Party into the 2028 elections as its flag bearer? That's a question that will be answered on Saturday in the next 5 days ahead of us. Now, we remain your election command center, and there's been a lot that's been happening as we count down to this presidential primary, and the candidates taking a jab at each other that has caught the attention of the Council of Elders of the New Patriotic Party, who say that they are putting some measures in place to address that before and even after the contest. Professor Aaron Mike Okwei, the former Speaker of Parliament, and then also a member of the Council of Elders of the New Patriotic Party, has indicated that to them, as Council of Elders, they would ensure that they will whip all these aspirants in line to acknowledge that unity is an integral part of their quest for election 2028. He spoke exclusively to my colleague Beatrice Edu earlier today. Take a look.
I mean, this throwing of jabs, we've even heard the spokespersons exchange words on social media.
These difficulties, they do arise. If you want us to go into history, go and ask Obeda Samoa what happened to him at an NDC Congress. Go and ask Isiem what also happened to her. Dr. Kwesibotu is gone. But go, if he were here, you will see how he had to run for his life at an NDC Congress. But you see, many of them come with the supporters. And sometimes they may even say things that the candidate does not really approve of. But nevertheless, the committees that are responsible for discipline, I tell you, they are busy calling people their attention to what is not acceptable, and also the Council of Elders using their advisory capacities as well on these matters.
So that's Professor Aaron Michael Quay speaking the language of the Council of Elders of the MPP, but building up strongly to the New Patriotic Party's presidential primary. We'll take a look at one of the 5 persons, talking about the former General Secretary of the party. This is not the first time he is seeking to lead the New Patriotic Party as its flag bearer. Kwabena Japan is the man that we're talking about, and he's been talking to delegates. He's been on the campaign trail, by the way. You know, there's not much that has been heard about him because he's not so much in the face of the media. He's not been involved in the jabbing. He's doing what has been described as submarine, campaigning, getting to the grassroots and engaging the delegates in a very quiet mode. But this is what we caught of him at one of the engagements with the delegates. He talked them through his sacrifices for the NPP and why he should be considered as the next flag bearer for the party going into election 2028. Take a look.
Because 10 years ni akama them 2015 2025 senyenya me akamenyina monim ha nanso so me dia akoma pa na asom party nyankopon so ehwe me kwampa so mame ahoden se me de be adwuma nti tumi no munsem na wo pele me ka kire me nkasa bebre mamom fa sa abato yi enkodi agro besa Ghana for munim said the last 4 years na krum ha be debt exchange the same way also banking a bufua a buy and yeah party for 2 million ankoto aba meboa yeah party for 2 million ankoto aba just a party for na catch say on be me about opposition and no mo ye kire ti here obi a party for no mo kasa we there nsem na course no on ka ho me so out of the 5 me pen na me nka ban no enti a bufua na e wo ho no e beba from no kra na make catch them 2 minimum sem na wo me dey me metuma ba ama me ho one as former general secretary me dey me tumufo yes the order from when he ahwiase nsra ahwiase me 10 years more power nyina mu say bu midinda 2020 president Akufo-Addo ono an na frɛ me fa phone frɛ me say me meboa no me nya de me yema no 1998 minini chingana he nyina yebe pie mu ha anam refi obobo nipa na me di kan ho but moti say me kam say bibi ati anada anya sada cause me the party no hu na hia me say me hu so obi gu ye party hu fia na ne hu ye me wawa ko mo ye de say na o manya sike.
Well, that's the man, Kwabena Ejeagye-Aponte there. And just a summary of what he's been saying in tweet to the delegates as he's campaigning. He says what? That, look, he who is down fears no fall. He's not been part of the government in the actual Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo Bawumia-led administration for 8 years. He was sidelined. He wasn't called upon to serve, even though Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the former president, called on him to help him campaign after he won in 2008. And the reason why that is important is because even in that contest, Kwabena Ejeagye-Aponte was there. And this was his showing, under 1%. Okay? And it's not been a favorable one for him on this path of seeking to lead the NPP going into election as its flag bearer. The second time, still under 1%. But the man has not given up. He is still pushing and not giving up on that vision, that objective, the desire to lead the NPP as its flag bearer. He's been general secretary before. He's been spokesperson to the president, John Agyekum Kufuor. He's served in those very crucial capacities for the party in government and as well at the party level. So then, what exactly is not working for him when it comes to this flag bearership race? He says that, well, he's served the party. The delegates that he was speaking to, he says, look, they know him. He's just like them. Over the 8-year period, it wasn't one that you would say was in government, and so those who are saying they have money, he's not part of them, spoke out of his heart to the delegates. But where is the disconnect? That's what we want to find out right now. But a man who has been on the ground speaking to delegates, either on phone or other means of polling the delegates and engaging them to find out what's in their minds, who they are considering to vote for amongst the 5, is Musa Dankwa, is Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. And Musa has been doing quite some work ahead of Saturday. He's joining us on Zoom right now. So Dankwa, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. But first off, on Friday, you put out what you describe as the last poll ahead of the 31st January flag bearership of the New Patriotic Party. favorability ratings of the candidates, you put Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as number one, and Kwabena Agyei-Agyapong also 85% favorability rate, meaning that, yes, if we talk about all the qualities the candidate these have and the delegates are looking out for, he comes up as the same level as Kennedy Agyei-Agyapong, 85%. But then, even though he has a very appreciable favorability rate, when it comes to the qualities of the candidate that would influence the choice of the delegates that you polled, over 10,000 of them, they are looking at a winnable candidate, the person who can win for them, as number one consideration, before someone who cares about the grassroots, someone who can bring change, someone who can unite the party, trustworthiness, humility. And that's one of the things that Kwabena Agyei-Agyapong talked about, that, look, he's the delegates, he's like them. So he's harping on that quality of humility. But then it's not one of the major issues that you say the delegates are looking out for, and then one who is a fighter. But he's been there. He's seen it all in the party. So why? What's going on? Zedangwa?
You know, Alfred, Kwabena Agyei-Agyapong has been known in the party executives. And normally, people don't transition from party executives to presidential candidate that easily. It's very difficult. Even though he's known, they don't see him as a presidential, maybe material, and doesn't have the resources that is needed to run a presidential campaign. So, vote for. And you can see that his numbers are quite low, below 1%. And for somebody who has been the steward of the party for a long time, it surprises people. But for me, presidential campaign party roles.
I see. And that's what you reference, and this is it. What you say, the committed voters module of who will lead the party, those who say, come rain or shine, they're going to go out. And we're going to put that on the screen right now. It tells a story. Kwabena Agyei-Agyapong, you said and I want to understand why in almost all the polls that you've done ahead of this crucial 31st January flag bearership race or the election, he's polled 0%. I mean, why is that? I mean, you would think that with all the experience that he brings to bear, having taken part in 2 previous flag bearership elections, there is something under his belt that should work for him, having served the party as well at the party level and in government as well. So why all of this 0% consistently?
You know, when you say marketable is in context. Marketable nationally for presidential position, if that was what they were looking at for, it would have been up there in the numbers, but it's not. So very clear, I think people must understand that party positions isn't the same as national positions in terms of presidential.
But when you also take into consideration how things are played out, and this is what you say is your final prediction, you're going to put your neck on the chopping board and say that by Saturday, maximum 7 p.m., maybe 8 p.m., we should get to see this similar or near outcome of this, what you have put out there. When you interact with the delegates whom you polled, over 10,000 of them in this, what do they tell you about Kwabena Agyei-Agyapong? Reason why, you know, consistently we've seen him come the last of the 5.
In many occasions, it is the in-depth researchers who go there and ask for reasons. We have no time to ask for reasons. We ask you who do you want to vote for, you tell us A, B, C, D. We check and we move on. So I cannot give you the answers today unless I go back there and do an Look, he's not the only one. I mean, if you look at Educhum, he's on 1%. You know, and you look at Brana Champon, until recently, he was doing very low, 3-5%. So it takes a lot to be able to attract what do you call them, delegates as a potential person that can represent the party and win election. Remember, they are looking for somebody who can win them the election. About 23% of the delegates say that they want to choose somebody who will win the election for them. So they probably don't see Japan as a candidate, let's say, Kwabena Japan as the candidate who can win them the election. And so those things will factor.
I see. I'm going to come to you for the final word on this, but let me welcome Dr. Jonathan Asantewotwe. He is also a political analyst, senior lecturer, University of Cape Coast. Thank you for joining us. I mean, you hear Kwabena Japan talk about his commitment to the progress of the party, the sacrifices that he's made over the years. A fine gentleman, for that matter, having inked his work and effort within the history of the New Patriotic Party over the period. But then when you see this, and especially because there's just few days to this crucial election day, what exactly is not working for him? Where is the disconnect, Dr. Asantewotwe?
Well, it is quite intriguing. Let me say good evening to your viewers and to your good self. It is quite intriguing that, and unfortunate that Kwabena Japan finds himself in the midst of four others in which he is not considered among the favorites. As articulate as he's been, forthright with his views, knowing the history of the party, where it has come from. But I think that what probably might have dimmed his shine as when he was indefinitely suspended alongside Mr. Afoko. And it appears since then, he's not been able to come up under the waters. The other aspect is that, I mean, if you look at his performance as presidential spokesperson for President Kufuor, he was among those people in those years who was considered as arrogant and prideful. And he himself, after the party lost the elections, I think in 2008, he had cause to advise the younger colleagues within the party until the period that they were able to come back to power in 2016. And how he, from that time going, how he had to advise younger colleagues of how he has suffered or how the party suffered in the past when they were tagged with, negative connotations such as being prideful, arrogant and so on and so forth. But if you look at the path that he has, matured from that period up to now, he should have been among the top 5, if not the top 3. So it is quite strange that he seemed not to be, at a level with, for example, Mr. Kennedy Japan. I mean, that is quite strange. And so if you look at the polls, the surveys that have come up, is always either getting 0 or nothing at all. And that is quite strange, if you ask me. And I cannot really, place a finger as to really the cause, of such a downward trend in terms of fortune. It's just quite unfortunate because you are looking at a personality that is very fantastic, forthright with his views, someone who spearheads reforms. And that's the more reason why I felt that he missed the opportunity becoming the chairman of the party and always clamored that he should have gone for the chairmanship. But he decided to go for the presidency. And unfortunately, the polls do not favor him. I cannot really place a finger on any, particular reason why he is down the ebb. But apart from those that I know that I've spoken about.
I see. But he talks about the fact that, I'm talking about Kwabena Japan, he talks about the fact that this election on Saturday is about the soul of the party, not so much about who's going to lead the party into 2028, because in his view, the party has descended so low, somebody who can galvanize the base, put it together, not only to win the election, but also beyond. But if you at least look at what Musa Dankwa polled and ask delegates what their number one consideration will be in deciding who to vote for, they say they are looking at the person who can win the election for them. Any other quality comes after. They can deal with that. But for them, whoever can win the election 2028 for them is their major consideration. Those are the two contrary positions that we are seeing, even though the point that he makes is crucial, you say.
Yeah, the soul of the party, yes. Winnable candidate, yes. Soul of the party, because you see, President Akufo-Addo, former President Akufo-Addo, really ran down the party. Few days ago, when they signed the peace pact, when he said nobody is bigger, no individual is bigger than the elephant in the party, that was a truism. But I think that he should have looked into the mirror. He would have seen that he was the very person who was talking to himself. The soul of the party is elsewhere. And those who are hardcore members of the party believe that they wanted to wrestle, or they intend to wrestle the soul of the party back to where it belongs. Here is the case. There are some people who still feel that Dr. Bawumia is an outsider, is an alien. And he himself had cause to respond to that particular issue when he went to the center, I think Kasawasi or something of that sort. He always reiterated the fact that he's not. So if somebody is saying that they want to wrestle, the soul, they want to bring back the soul of the party, it is a truism. But of course, they will also want a winnable candidate. So the two factors, right, run alongside each other. You need someone who will be in a position to win, a winnable candidate for that matter. So they may not really go for the one who is the fans' favorite, no. But the one that they believe in their own wisdom will be able to win the elections for them.
Well, and we'll see. It's just some 5 days away from now. The chips will fall in their rightful places, and then we'll see how the candidates will look like. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere is a senior lecturer, University of Cape Coast, political analyst. Musa Dankwa is with Global Info Analytics. I'm going to go for this quick break. When we're back, there's a lot more to talk about. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, the minority in Parliament have descended on the Chief Justice, His Lordship Justice Paul Bafuboni. We'll tell you why. And there was a press conference earlier today. The minority is questioning the purpose and timing of the ongoing engagements by the Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni to key state institutions, describing it in their words as a thank you tour for his appointment. They have asked the president to resist the temptation to run a third term while vowing to block speedy passage of bills in the upcoming sitting of Parliament. Take a look.
See that my Lord Bafuboni and his management are all over at the various ministries, including Jubilee. Is my Lord Bafuboni on a thank you tour, thanking the government for appointing him as a Chief Justice. We, the minority, don't see him as a tolerant head of the judiciary because members of the minority came under attack when we criticized the processes leading to his nomination. We will therefore not be part of his thank you tour.
Well, they've also raised other issues, some of which borders on the economy, transportation sector, gold board, amongst others. Take a look.
How can you give money to gold board to buy gold and they make losses because of exchange rate differences? What is happening amount to a financial loss to the state? If indeed we are going to have a gold for oil reserves, the government must take steps to sustain it by ensuring that there's real profits. In the 8th Parliament, when they were in opposition, they told the whole world that there was a need to pass an anti-LGBT law. 1 year down the line, they've been in office. They have gone quiet on this anti-LGBT law. We don't accept this. We hold a view that the NDC used the anti-LGBT law only for power. And now that they are facing the reality, they want to find a way of running away from it. We will insist that they act by their own principle. Mr. President, we are aware that many of your party members want to push the agenda. Please tell them one more time. Maybe when you said so in Singapore, they didn't hear you. Mr. President, you haven't spoken about your non-interest in third term in Ghana. Please tell your people that you are not interested at all. They shouldn't lead you into temptation. And by the way, it is not possible.
Oh, that's Alexander Panyoma King, the minority leader and the Futu Member of Parliament in there. The majority in Parliament have issued a statement responding to the issues that the minority captured in this press conference, part of which we just played to you. Nelson Roxon Dapem, of course, join us. There's been a little situation, so he's unable to connect with us. But this is their response, that on the matter of the state of public transport, the majority says it is obvious, quote, that the NPP left Ghana a dysfunctional public transportation system and the low carrying capacity of the public transport system was exposed the very first Christmas season after they left office. On the matter of the 24-hour policy, says when Parliament resumes in early February, the legal framework for the formalization of the 24-hour economy policy will be passed into law to establish the 24 hours economy authority. On the economy, so the NDC government's exceptional performance in economic and financial management has been acknowledged by the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and all international credit rating institutions. On the matter of Gold Board, says the Gold Board remains one of the most innovative mechanisms for leveraging our natural endowments to establish our currency, and the NPP regrets that such a smart idea never occurred to the NPP economic management team led by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. On foreign policy, The majority in Parliament says Ghana's foreign policy has become very sound and has contributed to the economic diplomacy that has enabled the fast economic turnaround we are witnessing today. So this, the full complement of it, you'll find on 3news.com. So make some time and visit 3news.com. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Join us same time tomorrow for another conversation. Join the New Day team tomorrow morning. The Roads and Highways Minister, Governor Kwame Abuja, will be joining the New Day team on TV3, and also we'll be joining Noble Crosby Annan on 3FM 92.7. So make a date. I'm Alfred Okanse. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage.